Hello students, in today's video we are going to discuss about joints of human body. What are joints? The place where two or more bones meet in the skeleton is called a joint. Joints of the bone help in body movements. For example, we can move our head, arms, hand, legs and feet because all these parts have bone joints. Now the question is how bones are joined together. Actually, in the freely movable joints like the elbow, knee, shoulder and hip joints, the ends of bones forming the joint are held in place by strong connective tissue called ligaments. Dear students, connective tissues are tissues that connect various body parts. Now, ligaments. What are ligaments? Ligaments are bands of tough tissue around our joints. They connect bone to bone, give our joints support, and limit their movement. Besides this, the ends of the bones at joints are covered with a soft and smooth layer of cartilage we have discussed in the previous video, which helps in movement with reducing the friction. Moreover, there is also a thick oily liquid between the ends of bones of a freely movable joint. This oily liquid lubricates the cartilage at the ends of bones and reduces friction even further. Now let us discuss about types of joints. The main types of joints in the human body are hinge joints, ball and socket joints, pivot joints and fixed joints. Let us describe hinge joints. If we open and close a door, we will find that the door can move only forwards and backwards. Actually, the door is joined to its frame by small metal joints called hinges or kabza. These hinges allow the door to move only in one direction, forwards and backwards. So, a door is said to have hinge joint. Now, likewise, in our body also, we have some bone joints which move like a door on its hinges. And because of that, they are called hinge joints. A hinge joint allows the movement of bones in only one direction, forwards and backwards. Dear students, can you guess that which joints of our body shows this forward and backward? Yes, it is the elbow joint and the joints in the finger. Besides this, hinge joints are also found in knee and jaws of our mouth. Now look at the screen. The movement at the elbow is a hinge joint. The lower end of upper arm is in the shape of knob and the upper end of lower arm is in the shape of cup. The knob of upper arm bone fits into the cup of lower arm bones to form a hinge joint at the elbow. The ligaments hold the upper arm bone and lower arm bones together at the elbow joint. Look at the figure 11. The knee joint is a hinge joint. At the knee, the lower end of upper leg bone is in the form of a knob and the upper end of the lower leg bone is in the form of cup. The knob of upper leg bone fits into the cup of lower leg bones to form a hinge joint at the knee. And the ligaments hold the upper leg bone and lower leg bones together at the knee joint so that they may not fall apart when the knee bends. Likewise, the joints between the bones of our fingers allow only a hinge-like movements, so the finger joints are hinge joints. The lower jaw also forms a hinge joint with the fixed bones of the skull. Now let us learn about ball and socket joints. In the ball and socket joint, one end of the bone has a round shape like a ball which fits into a socket called hollow space in the other bone. Look at the figure 12. The ball type end of one bone can turn freely in the socket of other bone. So in the ball and socket joint, the bones can be turned in any direction, forwards and backwards, side to side, and even rotated. The ball and socket joints occur at the shoulder and hips in our body. In other words, the shoulder joints and hip joints are ball and socket joints. If we stand up and move our arm around the shoulder, we'll find that we can move it forwards and backwards and from side to side, and we can also rotate it. This is because shoulder is a ball and socket joint. Look at the figure 12b. Here, the upper arm of the upper arm bones form the ball, and the end of the shoulder blade forms the socket, and the ball of the upper arm fits into the socket of the shoulder blade to form ball and socket joint. Now look at the figure 13a. The upper end of thigh bone, that is femur, is round like a ball, whereas the hip bone has a sockets or hollow spaces in it. Look at the figure 13b. At our hip, the ball on the top end of thigh bone fits into the socket in hip bone to form a ball and socket joint. Now let us discuss about pivot joints. In a pivot joint, a cylindrical bone turns into a ring type bone. The pivot joint allows rotation around an axis. A pivot joint exists between our skull and the top vertebra of backbone. We know that the top vertebra of backbone is what? It is a part of our neck. So we can say that a pivot joint exists between our skull and neck. The pivot joint between the skull and neck allows our head to bend up and down and turn from side to side. Another pivot joint occurs in the forearm or near the elbow. We know that the forearm has two bones, radius and ulna. In the forearm, the pivot joint makes the radius and ulna bones to twist around each other. Now, before we discuss about fixed joints, look at the figure shown on the screen. This is a skull and it is not a single bone. It is made up of a number of bony plates. Now, how are these bony plates connected to each other or joined to each other? Let us discuss. In such joints, the bones are held so tightly together that they cannot move at all. Such joints are called fixed joints, and these fixed joints are immovable joints. Fixed joints occur in our skull. The plate type bones of our skull are held together by fixed joints and cannot move at all. This makes the skull very strong. The hard and strong skull protects a delicate organ of our body called brain. For the same reason, we cannot move the upper jaw because it is connected to skull by a fixed joint. Thus, there is a fixed joint between the skull and the upper jaw. Dear students, please note that we can move the lower jaw because the lower jaw is connected to the skull by a movable joint called hinge joint. We have already discussed. Fixed joints also occur in the hip bone. The hip bone is also connected to backbone by a fixed joint. Remember this.